I'm coming. Please don't start till we get moving.
Oh, you already turned the camera on. The countdown was on. Okay, welcome. We are here for the January 10th, 2023 Transportation Committee meeting. I'd like to ask Councilman Lambert if he would say the prayer and lead us in the pledge.
Please. Please stand. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, please give us the wisdom and strength to move our transportation department forward. We ask all these things in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going back to the, there he is. That's why I waited to do it. I knew he was here. Not a problem, man. Committee, let's see, we're at number 3, committee chairman's report. I have nothing to add, so we'll move on to number 4, public comment. Nobody's here from the public yet, so I'll just hold my tongue on that. General business, acceptance of minutes, October 11th, 2022, as written. So moved. We have a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilman Lambert. Any further discussion? None. Any objections? None. So moved. Department report, Mr. Turo. There he is. This sounds different.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a little while since we've met, but I do have general updates. DOTD, I know the project engineer over there got a promotion, so I didn't really get as thorough an updated report as I usually do. But Gold Place Road is a road that DOTD is close to finishing. Whenever they do finish and it gets signed off, it will become the parish's road. And I did have some correspondence earlier today with Councilman Chase about cypress trees in the front. I know whenever I was with DOTD, it was an issue with Cypress Gold subdivision. So I just want to let you know that's going to be on our plate whenever we do own that road, to take out some of those cypress trees, because that's been a site issue for those residents. And I interviewed a few back then, and Chase said he had done the same, and everybody's on board with getting rid of those trees because they are a hazard. LA 18 from the Sunshine Bridge to LA 3120, that project is complete. The LA 1 project in the Donaldsonville area going towards White Castle, but in Ascension Parish, that project is ready to go. It's been delayed quite a bit because of the lack of limestone. The barges have been held up in the river, but I was informed by the contractor that they plan on starting shortly, because they did receive, the rock that they needed to get moving on that. I know Jeff is here and he can speak better on all the projects, the Move Ascension projects that we have coming up. I know we did, the OTD bid the Parker at 929 project. We're waiting for contracts to be signed. Whenever that happens, we'll have a pre-construction meeting and discuss the beginning of construction. And that is the routine. Whenever a job is let, it takes a couple of months to get paperwork out of the way, meaning contracts being signed by both parties, and the contractor to get all of his materials assembled. It usually takes 2 to 3 months for that to happen, and then we can have a pre-construction meeting and discuss the beginning of construction. Let's see, Airline and Old Perkins. I did not get the one I was hoping to be able to give you a report on was the LA 30 roundabout projects. It's due to be let the middle of this month. I don't know if that's been pushed back or not, but I know that's a very important project for the parish. All of our, I know in your packet, there's referral to the road rehab contract. Everything with the last year road rehab project has been finished. There's a very, I think there's a punch list just on one of the roads off of LA 22 to do a little bit of pavement repair. Other than that, everything on the road rehab list, including a lot of jobs, a lot of roadways in the Gosmer area, that's all complete now. I will soon put a packet together to let what we will call the 2023 road rehabilitation package. And also, similar to what we had this past year, is the pavement preservation package. So those two contracts I will be putting together and hopefully getting those out for bid next month.
Do we have a hard copy of the agenda?
The Manshak Acre Bridge over Muddy Creek is complete. The surface right now is actually a chip seal surface. What that did for us is keep the dust down. Whenever it was just limestone, a just limestone roadway creates a lot of dust. So we put a chip seal on it. After a couple of weeks, we're going to actually overlay that part to where everything's going to be solid asphalt. So we're going to wait about a month, I guess, before that happens. To the Move Ascension projects, Germany at Airline Highway, we had a very long delay, actually from June until December, waiting on materials to put the traffic signals up. But we finally did get the traffic signals equipment in, and the contract has been working for about 2 weeks to install the equipment for the traffic signals, and hopefully that will be completed shortly. After that is done, there's still some work at the intersection to take out the old traffic cabinet, the signal cabinet, and the signal pole that's there. That's coming out. That whole area will be asphalted in, and the entire project, which is a fairly short project, is going to be overlaid one last time for the final lift. The Henry Road clearing and grubbing contract from LA 73 to Akins-Tillotson, that is complete. Again, Jeff has information on the upcoming projects, Church Point and Roddy. We're eagerly anticipating that project. It's due to be let later this month. I mentioned Parker and 929. That roundabout has been let, and we're waiting for contracts to be signed and delivered. The 929 and 930 project, that one has been cleared. Utility relocation has begun there, and we hope to have that one done very soon. Whenever that happens, I'm sure Jeff will be right behind it to get that project out for bid. Germany and Bro, that project also has been cleared, meaning all the trees are out. Everything's out of the way for the utility relocations. So after they finish 929 and 930, they're going to move to Bro in Germany and get that utility relocation accomplished to where that project can be let for bid. There is I think there's an item. Item D, I will discuss in more detail whenever we get to it, but it's having to do with the federal-funded bridge replacement program. The off-system bridges that are upcoming, I understand we've started to approach property owners. This is for the H.H. Wilson and Manchac Acres over Cotton Bayou bridge replacements. They're going to both be replaced with box culverts. There's still, I think, some right-of-way acquisition on the Manchac Acres site, but H.H. Wilson, we're concluding the right-of-way acquisition there. But that, both sites have to be cleared before we'll let that, because they are under one contract. So that should happen fairly soon. I think that is, as far as the our DPW work, they've certainly stayed busy with whatever the weather allows. We are finally going to work on Beco Road. There's some grant money that we received actually a couple of years ago to put up some signs for all the curves there. So actually, starting Monday, we're going to finally get those signs put up. So all the curves on Beco Road should have new chevron signs and new curve warning signs as part of a grant. Today, they started paving on the road to Lamar-Dixon. We had done some prep work on it. They put the first lift also an attempt to make the road just a tad wider. But we prepped that road earlier and put the first lift on, not Ashland Road, but the other one that goes to Lamar-Dixon. St. Landry. So St. Landry Road is going to have a new lift. The part in the back, we rehabilitated it because it was in horrible condition with all of the log work whenever we cleared the trees for the last hurricane. So that part was completed by a contractor, but our paving crew is going to go from that area and go all the way to LA 30 and overlay that part. They started that work today. And you have a large list of signs that were replaced in the past couple of months. Tons of potholes patched. I think that's it. Do I have any questions?
Councilman, Councilman Melanson.
On the St. Landry, I see on the rehabilitation contract, it says complete, but we're not, that's just the rehabilitation. That's not the entire road. We are repaving that entire road.
Correct. The only part that was part of the rehabilitation package was from the church to the back.
Right.
Which is, the
Going
part
to
that
the
was in
main
horrible
entrance,
shape.
yeah, it was terrible.
We did a total rehab on that, new saw cement and all that stuff, and we beefed it up greater than any road I think that we've ever done. We put 5 inches of asphalt instead of our typical 3. And we put a little bit stouter saw cement base on it also.
Gotcha. And we're re-asphalting from the church all the way to 30, correct?
Yes. Well, we're actually we're going to stop a little bit before 30 because that's where the new roundabout is going to be. So we're not going to affect, at least right now, the part that has the turn lane and the catch basins and all that. So we're going to stop short of that, but that is going to be part of the roundabout project that I hope gets let later this month.
Gotcha. Staying in that same area, so the Edenborn, not the extension, not the new, but Edenborn extension from 44, and the roundabout, and then the little piece of road that connects the roundabout to Edenborn extension on New Road.
Yes.
So that's already getting in kind of rough condition right there. And I believe that's actually just inside the city limits right there.
I'll have to check and see who it belongs to, if it's ours or if it's the city's.
Right. We have a lot of traffic there, and like for me, for example, that's the route I take home every day to
Yeah.
avoid Highway 30. There's a lot of traffic, and it gets really slender right there, and we already have a lot of asphalt falling off the edges right there, and grass is, coming onto the road.
I
And
just
it's-
have
and
to
it's
check
pretty
and
new.
see, which section is ours and which one is the city's.
So,
But
I just
we'll
wanted to put that on your radar, something
Okay.
to look into.
That's it. That's it. Okay, thank you. Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe, on the striping on Henderson Bar Road, they went out and temporarily, sketched out to finish up, we had the rehab at the bridge. I've had quite a few calls there that, if it's raining at night, that is solid. You can't even make out where you're going, so.
So the edge line on at the bridge?
Yeah, we need the edge line as soon as
Okay.
we can. And also, I'd like to thank, you and the crews, everyone that winterizing the bridges. That was big. We don't have many 17-degree weather down here, but, y'all aced that, and appreciate all the hard work on that.
And they do have to go pick it back up because, we found out over the years, if you don't pick it back up, it just stays sloppy and all. So it was a chore, it's somewhat of a chore to put it out, but you got to go pick it back up. So that's
Sure,
another
sure.
chore there.
And the other thing, so Gold Place Road, we are actually doing a road swap with the state.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to, hats off to you, Mr. Mawaso. There's only been only a few, Mr. Aaron, Joseph Area Road. So as far as we need to make sure that everyone, when I took Joseph Area Road in, we have to make sure we're policing everything, that it's a parish road. And,
Right.
if you can make those contacts, please let everyone know about that.
Yeah. Luckily for those two, they do have a name
Yeah,
already, so we don't have to make a name for it. It's already got one. So,
yeah, well, that's great. That's a good connected road there.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That was a long time coming.
Yeah.
Councilman Mason, do you have any questions? Councilman Cazzo? I have a couple questions on the task order 4 for the roadways for road rehabilitation. The final list there. How do we come up with those? Those are still open for debate.
It is, I welcome y'all to add ones, but we do, pick out the ones that the charts that we get from the MPO, that information, so we do ride and look at these to come up with the final list, but we do start out with what the chart from the MPO, they have that ARAN machine, and it'll give you a number. So, we do go off of those numbers. If there's any debate that we can refute if there's saying mine's worse than yours and all that stuff. We do have but, still yet, time may make one a little worse than the other, or since that machine passed probably 2 years ago, so things could have changed since then. So it's certainly open for debate. We can add to the list and discuss that part.
My question on that is I noticed that some of them are kind of like what we're going to talk about later on tonight on some of these subdivisions. There are 1 or 2 roads within an entire subdivision. What are we
Yes.
doing about completing the entire subdivision? Because we're going to end up in these situations with some of these roads on here that we're going to have part of the subdivision done, part of it not done. It's going to be at different levels of maintenance, leading to future different levels of maintenance in the subdivision.
We've discussed, internally, we've discussed that issue, and we do have, like those 4 subdivisions that y'all had mentioned, it is, not all of the roads. It's generally the bigger subdivisions that give you that problem, because you have one filing that is much older than another filing. So the wear on the road is going to be markedly different. So whenever you say, why'd you do this one and not that one, you know, it makes a dilemma for you in that, yeah, you want to do the entire roadway the same way, but it's not really justified. However, there's one thing that I think we have what would be a pretty good solution. Our pavement preservation company, and this is assuming that they get the next bid. That's not a guarantee, but there's something that's a little bit of a step up from what they've done in the past, in that the material, instead of it being sprayed, it's actually brushed, and it looks markedly better. It looks very dark. It seals good. We often get, they did, like as a showcase to us for the last go-round, they did about 5 roads, and we got comments saying, thank you for our new road. Well, it's just a pavement preservation, but it's a very good pavement preservation. So in those large subdivisions, what we're proposing to do, that we think we're going to be able to do, is take, you know, the worst part of the subdivision and do a mill and overlay, a patch mill and overlay, and then the other part, you know, if it still has to be, you know, it's all these categories. If it's in great condition, you have one pavement preservation product. If it's a little bit deteriorated, well, that's the product that I'm discussing, is the seal that's a broom or a brush finish, and it looks really good. And I do have, you know, some roads there that you can go look at it. Nigmere is the one that I can think of right now, which is off of Cantee Road. You can go look at it, and it looks nice. It looks like a new pavement. So I think in you know, using a typical road rehab mill and overlay, I'm sorry, not a road, yeah, a road rehab mill and overlay, and in the remainder of the subdivision, using a pavement preservation with that brush or broom finish to it, I think it'll look good. I don't think one group's going to say ours looks, you know, markedly worse than the other guys. I think it'll make it to where all parties will be pleased.
Okay, I mean, we'll discuss these other neighborhoods and that process going forward, probably later in the day. Just a concern of mine. I don't like leaving parts of neighborhoods not done, because it's just less efficient over time. But that's good. Anybody else have any other questions? Nope. Okay. So let's see. Moving on to the next item. Let me flip this over. We have HNTB Move Ascension update. Mr. Burst, where you at? There he is.
You never put up the presentation.
Jeff will be going by Dieter tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Before you, you have a hard copy of your packet, and it'll be on the display here in just a minute. But what I'll do is, you know, kicking off the new year, I'll kind of give you a status of where we stand with the program. We'll start with construction status, talk about pre-construction activities. We'll look at some of the funding from all the different pots of money other than just Move Ascension monies that we're using to augment the program. We'll look at some improvements along the Highway 73 corridor. We have a good handful of projects that have come together to make a real nice corridor of projects, and then we'll look at some upcoming activities, and then I'll field any questions you may have. The looking on the construction page, you'll notice as we pull up the presentation, the 16 completed projects on the left, the most recent being the completion of the clearing and grubbing along Henry Road that just wrapped up, as Joey mentioned. The projects underway with construction as well, the US 61 at Germany intersection, that is almost complete. There were some difficulties with getting some materials for the signal lights and the mast arms, but those are in place now. And come out and put in the power source, and then DOTD will verify, and then we'll put on that final lift of the project be done. Just started today is the roundabout clearing grub fences. The Parker 929 that was alluded to was, DOTD took bids, the contract was awarded. It has not started construction yet, but we anticipate them getting on the contract and us mobbing in here, hopefully by March. Same thing with the overlays. If you will recall, we were able to obtain some specialized federal for that, so we bundled up 8 roadways and some overlays. Again, it had to go through the DOT because of the federal funding. I will say that on the West Bank in Ascension, with one actually being in the city limits of Donaldsonville. The parish does have an intergovernmental agreement with Donaldsonville for that. And then 2, and we met on this morning, are actually in the city limits of Gonzales. And we have an IGA between the parish and the city with that as well, where they will pay the 20% match for the roadways in their respective cities. Looking at construction coming up next, the Church Point Roddy Roundabout, another one that has been a long time coming. DOTD is going to take bids next month on February 8th. They will also take bids on another overlay project along 929 that we were able to secure some federal dollars for on March 8th. And that will go all the way from Airline until it hits Causey, take that 90-degree turn and go all the way up to 42. Again, that's going to be let on March 8th. And then you see the next ones in line, the 929, 930 roundabout, Bluff 73 connector, Bro Germany roundabout, and the other ones on the list as well. And then we're going to, work in line. What we're doing is all the design for these are done. All of the right-of-way has been acquired. All the clearing work has been done. It is a matter of getting the utility companies in there, having the utilities moved out the way so we can advertise, take bids, and get the contractors out on site and moved ahead. And that's why you'll notice that we stacked a bunch of the roundabouts up front so that by the time they go to 930, which is a 1.8-mile segment of road, which may take, there's 9 utilities and 3 pipelines, which may take the better part of 8 or 9 months to get them all out of the way. We'll have 5 roundabouts under construction at the same time.
Jeff, if you don't
And all
mind me
completed. Yes, sir.
interrupting you, since we're on the topic of utility relocations, and we have our attorney here also, are we still moving forward with Demco? We're still progressing with having them move our utilities?
I'm certainly happy to let Mr. Robert address that, but we are moving forward. We had a first round of mediation, and both sides owe the other some information, and we're efforting that now.
Okay, but I believe that they had agreed that they'd start working on some in the interim,
That is correct.
and they're doing that still.
That is correct.
Good, okay.
Now on to pre-construction, you'll see a number of projects under design currently. I would like to add a few things to the ones you see on your list. If you look at number 10, that is the project that the parish has a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Ascension Parish School Board to do improvements along those 2 corridors. So what you'll see is between 9 and 10, you'll see, and of course you know about the improvements along Highway 42, but going south down 929, those improvements will be done as part of Project 10. You have the Parker Roundabout that DOTD just took bids on, and then going improvements along Parker going east till you hit Highway 44, and then we've just begun design on a roundabout at 44 and Parker. So now you will have an entire new grid of improved transportation projects. We're shooting for in advance of the fall of 2024 when the new high school is built. You see the right-of-way acquisitions. We're closing in on 300 parcels acquired thus far. We're working on the 2 off-system bridges, as Joey had mentioned, Manchac Acres and H.H. Wilson Road. There are 6 parcels to acquire. 1 belongs to the Ascension Parish. 3 are pending closings. 1 has some title issues, and 1's in negotiation. So we're hoping to wrap those up here pretty quick and get those utilities out of the way. They are out the way already on H.H. Wilson. When they get out the way on Manchac, DOTD is planning to take bids on these 2 off-system bridges late summer, first of the fall. Design projects up next, you see the list that we have. I will make mention that the last two bullets we're going to temporarily hold to see exactly what DOTD has planned with the interstate interchange environmental and IJR assessments. We're hoping that they hit the streets here this first quarter of '23, but we'll wait and see on that. But the other ones will move forward. We do have federal funding for all except the 73 right-of-way corridor that is being funded with the COVID funds. I would like to mention that two other, in addition to what's shown here, is the airline highway median openings project that the traffic analysis is complete with the recommendation that was presented to the steering committee on which median openings to close, which ones to leave as is, and which ones to improve with turn lanes. And so we will probably be working with DOTD on that and having some public meetings as we move forward. And then the last one is the one for Councilman Melanson had requested sometime back on Highway 431. I think there were 3 specific intersections of concern, that there's no left turn lanes, and through an entire light cycle or 2, only one or no cars may even get through taking a left. So the steering committee had been briefed on that and had approved moving forward with the traffic analysis that DOTD will require to look at that, not necessarily to advance the projects until more information is obtained, but those traffic studies will move forward starting, we'll start putting together some task orders to have some of the traffic firms begin, and that I'll start working on that here next week, actually. And then, of course, we just hit on the utility relocations, and that's pretty much the driving force to a lot of these, particularly the roundabouts and these long corridors, which are ready except for that fact. Yeah. Funding. We started off with a $35 million program. It was $10 million in cash reserves out of the construction fund and a $25 million bond sale. And over the last several years, we've been fortunate to go out and secure numerous federal grants to the tune of almost $36.4 million. Traffic impact fees, you see here 12.1, which have been allocated to the Move Ascension program. Of the $24 million, $10 million of the COVID funds for Ascension Parish have been allocated to the program, and we were able to secure $2 million in state safety funds. So over the last several years, we've been fortunate enough to grow the program from an initial $35 million program to now over 95.5 million. And of course, with all of the other federal programs, we're looking at numerous both national, state, and local other types of programs that are out there, including raised grants and things like that are the bridge program through the IIJA program and others as well. Highway 73 have a lot going on this corridor, and very excited about all of the different projects that, once they all come to fruition, we'll have a very nice corridor from the interstate all the way south to Highway 30. And you'll see that currently under design or about to begin, you'll see on the north side, which is not shown on the map on the left, is the realignment of 621 at the intersection with 73 by that Shell station. We are 98% complete with the design of the 73 to Bluff connector. We have already acquired one of the parcels. We're in negotiation with the second, and there's only a few more to acquire, very minimal utilities to move at the tie-in points only. So we anticipate taking bids on the Bluff connector to go to construction no later than this summer. We have begun design on the roundabout on Highway 73 where the new Bluff connector ties in. And you'll see that's at that upper part of your map. Whoop. Sorry about that. Right up top here. We're about to begin design on a roundabout we've gotten federal dollars for at 7374, using some local parish money for a roundabout at 73 in Cornerview. At the bottom of the map, you'll see. And then between 74 and Cornerview, we want to do just enough design to develop the right-of-way maps so we can go and acquire the right-of-way to preserve the corridor for future four-laning, so that once we do enough of that, do the preliminary, acquire the right-of-way and preserve the corridor, we can go seek either House Bill 2 or some federal dollars to complete the four-laning of that segment. As you see here, this past November, we did apply for House Bill 2 capital outlay for those two projects that are listed right there. Upcoming activity is just getting ready to advertise to take bids for construction, preparing construction proposals and bid documents. And then you see the laundry list of just ongoing activities for the entire program, for the entire list of projects in Move Ascension. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Go back to any slide. Drill down a little bit more in detail. Oh, I did want to mention also, talking about construction upcoming, and Joey had alluded to this, about the three roundabouts on Highway 30 at the Tanger Mall and St. Landry. And I also want to make mention, it's not just the roundabouts, they're going to do full depth reconstruction of all the lanes the entire way. Unfortunately, that project has been pushed back, but now they will take bids on March 8th. So, happy to entertain any questions.
Councilwoman Cazzo.
Jeff, as you know, I'm thrilled to hear about the corridor work on 73. Describe a little bit for me and for Councilman Lawson, if you can, what that roundabout at 73, 74 might look like.
Although the analysis hasn't been done, we haven't even issued the task order to begin the work yet. But I fully anticipate, given the volume of traffic and just past experience, that it would be a dual lane roundabout. And what we also have is, because we hopefully anticipate in the long-range plan to four-lane 73 from interstate all the way down to 30 in segments. So the roundabout at the new Bluff connector on the north-south legs are being designed as dual-lane roundabout with single lane on the westbound leg. So then you'll have a dual lane, preserve the corridor for future four-lane, kind of like 42 is, down to the 73, 74 intersection. Then you'll have a dual-lane roundabout there at minimum in the north-south legs, but I think it will have to be designed and constructed in all four approaches, even if it's striped out east and west only as a single lane. And then, of course, one of the projects we talked about was preserving the corridor for future four-lane all the way down to what we're designing as the Cornerview intersection as well.
If I may continue, Mr. Chairman. So we had a situation where we had an idea for a roundabout at 621 and 73. That was analyzed yet again by both DOTD and the parish, and it was determined that that needed to be a signalized interchange because of the high volume. Are we going to check and double check 73 at 74 and make sure? Because the first thing I see when we talk about this in social media is people saying that's never going to work. And I want to be able to assure the citizens that we are checking and double checking to make sure that we do it right. If it will work. If it's not going to work, we'll make a difference. We'll do it different.
That is correct. The first step when we have federal funds and are working with DOT on the roundabout, particularly one of this complexity and magnitude, is they require a roundabout report. The first part of that is a traffic analysis that looks at the viability of signalized intersection versus the roundabout and several other conditions. So DOT will have to review the analysis done by the traffic engineer, and then they will have to concur with that, and then both will have to be in agreement before it's even allowed to move on. There are 8 phases of the roundabout report, so in each phase you can't move on to the next until both the DOT and the parish and the traffic engineer are all lockstep in agreement that is the right solution.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You have any more questions?
I think I'm good at this point. I appreciate your work. We've been talking about Highway 73 since 10 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you very much for persisting in this effort.
Certainly.
Councilman Malonson.
We used to joke that we started talking about 73 4-lane in the day they finished the 3-lane. But, no, I just want to make a comment. So that was the first time I've seen the 73, 74 roundabout. And
I'm trying to keep it as a surprise for you.
well, no, I mean,
We're just gonna pop it up one day.
no, I'm very excited about that. Like, and just because you're east and west and you're north and south are different lanes, I mean, that, the one we did in Sorrento, right? I mean, you got 2 single lanes and a double lane coming, that thing just moves perfectly. And so I would encourage us to absolutely plan, instead of being short-sighted with a single lane roundabout, let's make sure we do everything we can on the front end in anticipation that we'll have that 4-lane corridor one day and we don't have to go buy property and go through all the same
No,
steps
that's an
again.
excellent point, and actually, the administration and specifically the parish president has instructed us that regardless of what the report says, if it's a single lane now, let's look into the future for Highway 30, for Highway 73, for a lot of these major corridors, and plan ahead for the future 4-laning one day and go acquire the right of way, and let's have some plans to be able to design for that in the future.
And just one more comment, I would like to be, if you wouldn't mind giving me updates as you get new information with the, potential new turn lane at Seminole High School and then, at Bayou Northeast and, at 621.
Absolutely.
That's the 3 worst, congested areas we have down that 431, corridor, especially during school hours and then at 5 o'clock in the evening. That traffic on 431 is just a parking lot. So as that progresses, just if you want to give me an update, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you, Mr. Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Malonson. Like to take it a little bit further down to Highway 931 and Highway 431. There's folks sitting there 2, 3, 4 light cycles because there's no left-hand turn. In discussion with DOTD, I'd like to see if possibly if they could do some no left-hand turns on some of these intersections at certain times of the day. This is the only way, you have to keep traffic moving. A lot of Livingston Parish is coming through here. That's where most of them turn off and they go up the back way of Highway 431. But this Highway 931 and 431, we need to look at it either no left-hand turn at certain times of the day or just put up a no left-hand turn till we can let them go to the next block. You within a mile and let them find their way back around because we have baseball season fixing to start. We're dealing with a park, quite a few other things that, we have to keep this traffic moving. So at certain times, not, but if it has to come to some of them, we're gonna have to move people down to the next intersection to keep traffic moving. And I'd like to keep that, on DOTD's radar.
Yes, sir. I will speak with the district traffic operations engineer about that as we begin the analyses to add the turn lanes in the cycle. So as that progresses, I'll keep Councilman Malonson apprised, but I can, in the interim, talk to the district traffic operations engineer for DOT that covers this area and discuss that with him, certainly.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Mason.
I'm glad you brought up that intersection, Dempsey, because I have family that lives out there. And so the turn signals, if you're on 931 turning on to 431, the turn lights, the little arrows that you get, those things take 5 minutes. They seriously run for 5 minutes, and there's like 2 or 3 cars, and everybody else is just sitting there. So maybe we can look at the synchronization of that as well. And the other thing is, when I first got on this committee a couple years ago, Jeff, you used to always give us the breakdown of like how much money was being spent in which areas. And I kind of missed that because I thought that was really cool because we actually got to see like where the tax dollars were going. And I know that it kind of created some I raised a lot of questions in the beginning because I know in the beginning you do a lot of engineering. So everybody was like, why is all the money going to engineering?
Right.
But I wanted to see I haven't really seen them a lot since then. So I was just wondering if we could get that back in there because I just thought that was a cool slide to show everybody where all the money's going.
Yeah, no, I can certainly add that back for next month. And it's a good graphic, so you can kind of see that pie chart. And you're right, when we're standing up the program, it's very heavy on the pre-construction side and not as much on construction and right-of-way, et cetera. But now you'll see a leveling off where construction will start to take off a good bit.
And that's why I'd like to see that, because I'd like to see where we are now. 'Cause
Certainly.
That was always a good one.
We can definitely add those. We kind of, a lot of these presentations were lasting a really long time. So
Yes.
so we
You don't have to
probably
talk about it, you
rotate
just show
things
it.
in and out maybe every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
good.
just once every, or every time you get a project done, you can be like, look how much money we're doing in construction now.
Certainly will do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any further questions? Jeff, I have a question that you may not be prepared for tonight. I hate to surprise you on it, so maybe next meeting.
No problem.
I understand the state was doing a stage 0 on the Highland I-10 interchange area, including like where that Walmart is and in Prairieville and all. Do you know what the status of that is?
The, which intersection?
And like
I-10 and
where
where?
Highland and I-10 and
Highland,
Airline Highway, that whole area, they're supposed to be looking at that for improvement. And I know the improvements on that are 10 years down the road. I just wasn't sure if you'd heard anything about it.
There was a long time since I had heard anything about the Stage 0. I can look into it. I believe that
I didn't expect
That
you
it-
to know about it right now. That's why I
that
was
they
saying
had
for
hired a
next meeting.
consultant to evaluate that. Let me do a little digging on that, and I can report back next month.
Okay, great. I noticed that every time I drive down I-10, and y'all probably experience this too, they've got cars just backed up on the interstate waiting to get off of that exit in Prairieville. That is a serious accident waiting to happen, just a terrible rear-end accident waiting to happen, so they gotta do something about that area.
Then you have people that like all the way over to the lane and they get to the front and they cut all the way over.
Yes.
Guilty.
Michael,
I'm done.
I don't like that. Okay, Jeff, I think that's all the questions we have for you.
Okay, thank you all very much.
I'm going to take a privilege to make another announcement because I see that the public has arrived now. If you'd like to, the public comment, if you'd like to make a comment on an item, they have red and green cards. If y'all would fill one of those out, red is for, red is against, green is for. You just put your name and what item you want to speak on. You give it to Darla right there. Darla, put your hand up and they'll know who she is. And if you give her a card, then you can come speak. So anybody that wants to speak, you don't have to. Okay, so moving on to the next item. 5D is in dog, acceptance of priority of bridge repairs or replacements for the off-system bridge replacement program. Mr. Toro.
I was quickly made aware of this program, which is a federal program. It's called the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. It is federal money where the parish has no obligations whatsoever. And initially, I was told that we could do, any improvements to existing bridges, whether it be improvements or replacements. And with that in mind, and I was given the figure of about 4.7 million that would be allocated for that program. But since then, I was told that they changed the rules to where every parish had to have at least one bridge. Bottom line is our 4.7 million went down to about 4.3. The other thing was the rule was that it had to be a total replacement. It could not be a improvement to an existing bridge. Total replacement, that's all. So with that, the list that I put in your packet, and it has some information on there that really should not be shared with anyone else, but it does show the structural integrity of the bridges and why we chose these two bridges. The analysis on these off-system bridges are done by DOTD. So they took those numbers. They actually said, or this consultant, which is Bill King, who was chosen by DOTD to administer this program, picked out all of those bridges. They asked me, I had a week to analyze, and I actually had a couple of days to make a decision as to which bridges were to be chosen. So I really took the two bridges that were in most need of being totally replaced. So that's how I came up with the two bridges of Duval Road and the one on Beco Road over Duck Roost Bayou. Duck Roost Bayou is the one right by the Holy Rosary Mausoleum. So those are the two bridges that were chosen, and they're already moving on getting a designer for it. I'm told, and these things are happening real fast, so I certainly don't want to slow them down. I was told we're going to have two of the earliest replacements, projects to replace those. They anticipated the Duval Road Bridge project to be let in the fourth quarter of this year. And then the Beco Road project over Duck Roost Bayou would be let in the second quarter of next year. So that's really fast. We'll see if that happens that way, but it's federal money. We have no obligation, no match, no nothing. They do the whole thing.
Well, we've got a motion, I forget who made the motion, I know it was, okay, motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Melanson. The only thing I'd like to add, like I usually do with these bridges, have we talked to Mr. Monson out there and our drainage side of things to make sure that when we replace these bridges, it's not, we're not affecting any flow or anything like that, and it's the right thing to do from the drainage perspective also.
Yeah, we certainly have an opportunity to look at the plans and see, and we can run it by.
Yeah, I just don't want to put a bad bridge in that's blocking water and
Right.
go back and tear it up again. So make sure we work with them, and
Sure.
other than that, great job getting some free money,
Yep.
so to say. Okay, moving on. Item, 5E, discussion and approval of striping of Charleston Road. Mr. Turo. We have a motion by Councilman Lawson, second by Councilman Woman Mason. So, mass confusion up here. Any further discussion? Any objections? None. So moved. Okay, Joe, you got it off easy on that one. Discussion and resolution asking Administration and Planning and Zoning Commission to integrate traffic calming requirements into subdivision requirements. This is something I asked to be put on there, and Joe, you put your name on it also. Really, all I'm asking for is that we resolve to ask our Planning and Zoning Committee, or our Planning and Zoning, what do we call them, Commission, to take what we did before with the traffic calming, and what that is, you know, so the public knows, it's for slowing down traffic in subdivisions. Ask them to look at how we could incorporate that into our new subdivision regulations so that they can be built into a subdivision before it's even built. So number one, the parish doesn't have to pay for it and the citizens don't have to pay for it. Number two, you don't have to go out and make that, get all the signatures and everything. It's already part of the subdivision, which I just think things will be a lot easier in the future. Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilwoman Kaz, yes, and Lady Lambert. Yes, sir, Councilman Lawson.
Hey, could we move this straight to the council instead of going through P&Z, or?
It's my understanding that P&Z has to, it's supposed to go through P&Z. Anything
Okay.
with subdivision regulations are supposed to go through them first. That's why I was sending it to them first.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to speed it up, but I think that's the way it has to go.
Okay.
But I like the idea. So we have that, that worked. Okay, number G. Item 5G, roads to be considered for acceptance into the parish maintenance system as follows. Joey, we have Forest Wood subdivision, Forest Wood. Now, are these? Yeah, they have to be read. My question is, so these were before we had the subdivision,
So I think even with the road infrastructure division, we still have to accept them
Into the system.
Right, but this is still being funded by their.
yeah.
Yeah, this is still being funded by the millage that these neighborhoods are paying specifically for that road
Yes,
infrastructure
yeah.
district, correct?
Jerome Fournier handles that whenever.
Right, but we technically still have to accept it,
Yes,
but only the funds that these neighborhoods collect
yeah, we use
will be
those,
spent on the roads.
and that's an adjustment I gotta make. I've gotta, get into that pot of money as opposed to the.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'll make a motion to accept all 6 streets that are named.
We have a motion by Councilman Melanson, and a second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? I just have one question. I noticed that some are 25 mile an hour, some are 20 mile an hour. How do we decide on that? I always wondered that.
The designer and developer must have, put that together.
Like how many houses or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it was so many houses, it had to be a certain speed limit.
Okay, well, that's something, maybe, that resolution, to look at the traffic
Yeah.
calming aspect of that and see if that's the right thing. But very good, okay, moving on. Now we have, item 5H, discussion and approval of Jefferson Oaks subdivision pavement preservation and maintenance. Joey, go ahead.
We'd looked at that subdivision, the roads there are in very good condition. We certainly can put the first stage of pavement preservation on it, which is, it's got a generic, a name for the product, but it's a sealer. It just, mostly preserves the fine particles that's in the asphalt and makes it last longer.
Motion.
Okay, motion by Councilman Lambert, a second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any further discussion? Any objections? None? Darla, do we have any speakers, by the way? And while we're getting that, I'll move on to item I, discussion and approval of Oak Alley subdivision pavement preservation and maintenance, brought to us by Mr. Guidry. Let's see, J and K, okay. We have a motion to approve by Councilman Malassaw, a second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? Any objections? None, so moved. Now, we do have a speaker on item J, and first I'll read what the item is. It's discussion and approval of Quail Creek subdivision, pavement preservation and maintenance. And we have Miss Megan Poche, who is present and would like to speak. Come on up, Miss Poche, you'll get 3 minutes, and as soon as the 3 minutes goes off, you'll feel a slight shock through the microphone to tell you to stop.
Great. I needed that to perk me up. So our subdivision was developed in '98. It's 25 years old. The roads are, especially the older, the first filing of the subdivision, there are potholes. It is like riding off-road if you are on a bicycle or even in your car. It's pretty bad. The only time we've ever, I think, had road improvements that I know of are a couple years ago when they came and injected the cracks and separations on the third filing. And even where those are, it's already deteriorating very quickly. The neighbors are very concerned. I get to hear that quite a bit as being on HOA president. So anyway, if y'all can add that, that would be awesome, because the other thing is, with all these roundabouts and improvements y'all are talking about, our neighborhood's about to become, unfortunately, a cut-through when the high school's there and all that transportation, new stuff is going on, and it's going to kind of be a nightmare for us, and the roads are going to be traveled on so much more than they even are right now, so.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any further discussion? None, so moved.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Megan. And the next item is item K. We also have a speaker on that. Item K is discussion and approval of Manchac Harbor subdivision pavement preservation and maintenance. And we have a speaker, Mr. Will Wagner, please. Good evening.
Shock treatment as well?
Yes, you did.
Joke's on you.
I'll turn it up a couple
Joke's
notches.
on you, I'm into that. So Manchac Harbor, first I'd like to know what exactly are y'all proposing to do with this K? Is it just an overlay? Is this just a sealant?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Turo, who's the specialist on it.
Before I say my spiel, I'd like to,
Yeah, we'll look at it again and whatever one's more applicable. If it's in, parts are in great shape, we put one.
well, good thing you don't have to look at it again because I brought it to you. I think we're gonna need more than just a Band-Aid. I have pictures of the Band-Aids if y'all like to see them, because the Band-Aids are failing.
Yeah.
Y'all did a little overlay on the fourth filing. We're made up of 4 filings. Overlaying the fourth filing is doing great, but the fourth filing sees no traffic. We are one way in, one way out. So the first, second, and third filings see all the traffic in the neighborhood. So I also have, for the council, if I may approach, or I can just set it here, a petition of residents. We've got about half our residents on there saying they would like something done with the roads as well. We had an accident in the neighborhood. I don't know if you knew about that, Aaron. Kids hit some gravel on a golf cart, flipped it. 3 kids, 3 different ambulances. So our cul-de-sacs especially, they're just falling apart. We've got potholes in our potholes. So I don't think just coming in and doing a little beautification and prettying it up is going to do a darn thing. Honestly, we need to get in there and really fix it.
Make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Councilman Lambert, a second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any further discussion? Councilman Malassaw.
I just wanted to add, it's not the fix in every scenario, but in my district, we've, the pavement preservation, like there's been roads that, just aren't in the budget. So we've done this overlay, and look, if there's a large pothole, obviously we need to repair that.
Right.
But for small cracks and stuff, this is pretty impressive little technology we have. I mean, the road looks brand new, and it's very thick, and it's almost like a rubber coating. But of course, Mr. Joey and them, they'll get out there, and if there's civil work or anything like that needs to be done, they'll take care of that. But I say that just don't underestimate the coating. It's pretty impressive in my opinion.
Oh, I mean, the coating's a great idea for the parts of the roads that need just coating.
Right.
But if you come coat a pothole, you've got a really pretty pothole. So,
Well, thank you. If I may add, that part of the reason we put, and you're welcome to sit down, Mr. Wacker.
All right, thank you.
But part of the reason we added these on here is, once again, the goal is to try and do a complete subdivision all at once. What happens a lot of times is, just like in your neighborhood, Quail Creek, just like in Manchac Harbor, it was cheap and easy to do the back, so that's what got done. And the hard work was in the fronts of these subdivisions where it's actually gotten down to the soil cement. The potholes are that bad. We actually have to cut it out, and you got to put hot sand, do all this extra work. It just costs more. The only problem is that when you don't do that work, and you put it off, it's just going to cost more and more over time. So we try and do entire subdivisions.
Pavement preservation won't help that. This is total rehab on those parts, but, what a change we're proposing to make that I think we can in a lot of these subdivisions is, like he had mentioned, one part is in decent shape, the other part is horrible. So we could do a total rehab on one part and a pavement preservation on the other part, and hopefully everybody will see an improvement at one time.
And while I
But,
got you
but
up
the
there-
only thing is that it's two different contractors, so there is gonna be a gap. One contractor's gonna do it 1 month, and it might be 2 to 3 months before the other contractor comes in. So I just wanna warn you of that.
While I've got you up there, and I'll let Councilwoman Kessler go after it, I just finish this real quick. One of the things I've noticed in multiple subdivisions is on roundabouts also possibly, but on cul-de-sacs, they get that push. In the summer, you get the heat, and it causes that asphalt to get pushed. Is there a way to prevent that, or can you does cement prevent that? What is the best way? You don't have to tell me now. In fact, these people don't.
No,
probably not worried
it
about
happens
that,
all
but-
the time. Soil cement equipment can't make that turn. It takes a very diligent contractor to make it to where the soil cement is uniform in a cul-de-sac, because that machine is just a lumbering machine. So there may be some areas where you have to put full-depth asphalt in lieu of soil cement. So, there's ways of addressing it that we can do a better job of, because it's hard for a contractor to build a cul-de-sac. So, you do have to do something a little different.
Is that something we should address within the subdivision code?
No,
the methods
I
by
think
how
it's
it's
just
made?
something we need to tell our construction guys to address, It's something, like Micah Sanchez, whenever he's inspecting the construction, we may need to tell the contractor to expect that, because anytime you throw a developer, you tell them that you may have to spend a little bit more money in a cul-de-sac, because it's hard. We understand it's hard to build a cul-de-sac, so got to do something a little different.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Thank y'all very much.